Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next episode of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to welcome to the show Dolores Sanders, who is the co-founder and strategic director of Total Control Pro. Dolores, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dolores, as is customary, as I always explain at the beginning of the show, I would love just to quickly provide a quick snapshot of your education and career background so our wonderful dear listeners can understand why we asked you to come on the show. So is it okay if I quickly run through that?
Absolutely.
Fine. So sort of education background, University of Bristol, where you got a degree in psychology.
Indeed.
And then after that, you did a couple of postgraduate diplomas in marketing, exec coaching, and also sort of business leadership.
Yes, I did.
Career-wise, early career, you're involved in marketing and marketing director roles. Beginning of 2002, you launched your own business, a business called Business Interactive, which I think we'll touch on in a bit. And then in 2017, co-founded Total Control Pro. So for those of our listeners that haven't heard of yourself before, or indeed Total Control Pro, talk to us about Total Control Pro. What do you do? What's it specialise in?
Absolutely. So we are committed to providing technology that's effective for manufacturing.
What does that mean? So
we essentially want to know what's actually going on the shop floor.
Okay.
There's a lot of technology out there, sort of ERP systems, MES systems. They generally are developed to be top down from an accounting or finance perspective.
Right.
So when it comes to the actual shop floor, we've got a production manager wanting to know exactly what's going on. Are the products going to be out on time? Customers wanting to know where is my product in the development or the delivery, especially these days where there's a high level of personalization. We create the software that enables them to track exactly what's going on the shop floor, reveal some of those black holes that at the moment they don't know that they don't know, and then start to provide some analytics and solutions to how they can improve productivity, engage their employees more effectively, and look at areas where automation or improvements can be put in place, but from the real-time activity rather than an expected or a delayed analysis from data that by the time they've got it out on the spreadsheet, analysed it, they come back, it's all obsolete already.
So you've used the word or the phrase shop floor a few times there. So talk to us about what a shop floor of what? So what type of businesses or industries, or what could your product or solution sort of support?
Well, ultimately it's any workflow.
Okay.
So essentially, it's discrete manufacturing, so a process or production line flow where there is people, product, and process.
Okay.
So where it's the ideal of the Audi factory, which is 100% automated, you probably wouldn't need us because it's all machine data. But where you have any person interacting with a product in a process, those are three data points that you probably want to know what's happening. And so that's where we'll track it. And our customers range from those that manufacture bouncy castles to valves for the SpaceX product to very, very fine fiber optics to powder coated exhausts. It could be any of things in between.
Fine. You also use the phrase black holes, unknown black holes. So give us an example of one of those or some of those.
You'll know, so let's talk about people, because I love, although I think we want to make products and machine data and all that sort of thing is very interesting and I love the technology, how we interact with the people is really important. So we did one with one customer. They wanted to know what combination of shift patterns, so whether it was a teams of people or pairs of people working on a production line, would make the best delivery for that product. How was the best way to do it? So we were able to put our system in place. So one line was running a team-based system, one line was running a pair-based system, and within a few weeks they could identify exactly which flow was going to be the most effective for this product and set up the line accordingly. And whereas they'd had people in to do time and motion and assessment and all of that before, that's all right, but when people are being watched, they behave differently to when they're actually doing stuff. We're just allowing people to say, this is how we're really working. And our commitment is always making their job easier. Let them know what they need to do, what the process is. And if their jobs are more effective, if people on the shop floor are happier, they're doing their work better, then actually productivity increases by its nature.
And presumably that's ticking off the engaging workforce statement that you have on your sort of website. That's about empowering the workforce to basically enjoy what they're doing, be better and more efficient at what they're doing.
Yeah, and that can be at an individual level, but also sort of letting them know how what they're doing impacts that production line or that plant or that facility. So there's no surprises. They're, as a group, they're committed. They can start to have that commitment to raising the overall performance of the business.
Okay, which then moves on to empowering teams, which is what you also state on the website, which then in itself then transitions up to enlightening the management. So presumably the outcome of all of that is that the management then have the data, the information to understand how to
make the difference. They've got real-time data, and the most common example is your ERP system. I won't name names, but some will quote
what's an ERP system?
So an enterprise resource
program
management system, whatever it wants to be, and it will tell you that this process should take 200 minutes. It never takes 200 minutes because they've got to break down the machine, they've got to set it up first. All of that time is not accounted for. But in terms of pure resource, it does take 200 minutes for that bit. So on the shop floor, they're always missing their targets. That's disempowering. As you start to track it through, they go, actually, that bit does take 200 minutes, but we've got this process and this process that take these times. They start to get acknowledged for the work they're doing. And then the times can start being adjusted, so the overall productivity of the business is much more effective.
Okay.
In its simplest form. And
presumably this is delivered through different products that businesses can purchase through you. So what are those products and how do they sort of differ?
So one of our key commitments is our product is that the technology should be available, affordable and accessible depending on the business that you have. For a small manufacturer, so one of the small manufacturers in the SDC or around Silverstone Park who are doing very bespoke engineered units, but they still need to know where they're at and whether they're going to be delivered on time for the customer. As you know, in some of the industries around here, in-time delivery is absolutely key. They wouldn't need the full product, so our enterprise product. So we have Activate, which is a very simple, can be self-configured. Literally within an hour, they can subscribe online, download. Well, it's not really a download; it's an access point. But they can configure it for their machine setup, and they can start to track the details through and start to show up what's there. We can provide online support. We provide setup support for them, but ultimately for a very small amount and easy, they can get set up and start to reveal and see what's going on.
That's cloud-based, presumably.
It's all cloud-based, yeah.
Okay, so you've got Activate, which is maybe for the smaller, more nimble organisation that needs a sort of plug-in and play type solution. You've got Enterprise, which is the other extreme, which presumably is for obviously big organisations.
Where you're going to have lots of bespoking, very unique setups and lots of connectivity. So connecting into your ERP system, pulling data from the various different areas, maybe connecting plants or even countries with providing different resources. But our Energize is probably our core product. It's for your larger SME who knows what they're producing. We can configure it to suit their needs. There's no bespoke. We don't have to get under the bonnet, but they can have every colour, and that's a fixed monthly subscription. It's set up. They get some professional services because, as we work with more and more clients, we obviously start to know and be able to provide some of the insights to make the difference. But ultimately, they can configure it and have it up and running, and it serves their purpose.
And presumably an organisation, a business can approach you where you'd have a discovery meeting or conversation with them, or a couple of discovery conversations, so that you could understand more about their business, and so that you can say to them, actually, I think this is the right solution, or this is the right solution.
Absolutely. Even those that, they'll come on, they just want to start with the Activate, we'll still do a virtual line walk. So we'll go through what their process is and advise them how to best set up. With our Energizer Enterprise, we also do a full sort of day on site, doing that line walk, looking at all the data points and really sort of advising them how to make the most of the system, but also where other areas can come in. And that's something quite key for me, is collaboration with other technologies. It's not a case of, you want to throw everything out and just use this. It's no, where are you already got something that solves this problem? How can we connect with that and start to produce a better joined up solution for the individuals or the businesses?
And presumably that fits into your sort of internal motto of the 3 C's, which I've heard about. So talk to us about, because you think you should collaborate there, which presumably is one of the C's.
Absolutely. So my personal philosophy is stay curious, collaborate, and be committed.
Okay. So talk to us about those. So
curiosity. Well, it's actually ultimately it comes from my favourite book, Alice in Wonderland. Curiouser and curiouser.
Yeah.
I think of at least 6 impossible things before breakfast. But it's that, if you go into a new manufacturer, or any new business, it's just looking at exactly what they do, being really fascinated by what's there. I don't want to go in knowing this is how something's going to be done. I want to go in and go, how do you do it? What can we look at? What kind of solutions can we create and work together? But curiosity in all sorts of different areas. I grew up in manufacturing. My parents ran a t-shirt printing business in Corby.
Right.
And there are things that I saw when I was in the factory there that I still refer to and relate to now, kind of 37 years later. Because I was always interested. How do we do that? How do we screen print that? And I'm working with a company right now working in fast fashion. And because I knew how things were done then, I'm like, I can see the differences. So you never know when something you've been fascinated and asked questions about can come and be useful inside of either your professional or personal life.
Sure.
But that's why it's collaboration, because although you might get curious and come up with some great ideas, most of the time I can't deliver on any of them. I run a tech company, and I have never written a piece. Well, actually, I have written a piece of code. The ZX Spectrum.
Yeah. I had one of those.
That's really giving my age.
Yeah. I remember those. Yep.
But I used to play with that. But other than that, these days I leave that to others. But it's how to get the best solution and collaborate with others to really create. And no idea can exist in a vacuum. You've got to connect with other people to really have that come through. And the more you can collaborate through, our young people, through schools, through the STC, all of those things I think is really key. But there's also times as well when it comes to commitment. I've run my own business now for a long time, and we've come up with various different ideas. And there's times when you want to quit. There's times when you think this is never going to be. We developed a cloud-based platform that could have gone to market 7 years ago, but there was no one ready for it. We could have then given up and gone, we'll go to the next thing. But no, we put some things in place. We kept ourselves alive. We kept the roof over our head, and we kept going. And now we know it's absolutely the right time, and businesses are just absolutely loving what we do. So stay committed to what you can see as the answer.
Curious, collaborate, commit.
That's it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And so you've spoken about coming up with this as a concept several years ago, but the world not being ready for it. Very similar to sort of iPhone technology back in the 80s and 90s with General Magic. So presumably that was whilst you were running Business Interactive.
Yes. And
so talk to us about that, because that is clearly what has then generated and led to Total Control Pro being. So what were you doing at Business Interactive? What sort of clients were you working with, and so what have you learned?
So Business Interactive was a consultancy business. It's like a bit of an umbrella business, really. In one sense, our background was in post-production, multimedia, and an interface design, so connecting data in a way that it could be understood. Okay. So we were working different projects that worked around that. So inside of that, we we did a project for a company producing knitwear, working through and outsourcing knitwear production, but how to actually manage and control and improve quality and accountability, especially in countries, like Bangladesh or Turkey, where they had to ensure the authenticity of what they were creating. So we had different projects like that. I also, inside of Business Interactive, ran a health nutrition franchise or business. But essentially for us, it was the projects that interested us, that would pay well and that would keep us interested. We took a few customers from various other events that we'd done before. Inside of that, we were asked to go and work with a windows and doors factory, actually, who needed to get ISO accreditation and wanted to reduce the paperwork on their shop floor.
Good.
It's just too much paper. Specs were being drawn up and then the customers changing their mind and those specs had to be found, and it was just complete chaos, and their accreditation was being impacted by that. So they'd started to develop a piece of technology, and as in any company that decides to start to do something in-house, that's not what they know best. They know their business. So we went to work with the tech team there and to finesse it so it was delivering what they needed, and it had a way of being updated and staying present. As in the end, we ended up buying that technology from them, delivering it to more in the initial stages inside the windows and doors industry. And then started to go, well, we've got background in other manufacturing. A couple of other manufacturers said, well, we'd like to have a look at this sort of system. And we started to look at different ways. And from that, we went, you know what, this running around the country trying to serve legacy systems is not really what we want to do. So how can we utilize the cloud technology that was coming through and start to create that? It did require a complete rewriting of the product. I
bet.
So for those period of time, whereas mine, is innovation, marketing, the ideas, or then the selling of those ideas. So for a few years, the tech guys were in the dark room doing that, and we were just looking after the legacy customers.
Sure.
And then we let them out, and we went, are we ready yet? We're a bit faster in turning sort of new ideas around now, but.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's kind of how Total Control Pro, and it's with me, myself, Dorian, who's my husband, and then 2 other developers, and then recently we brought on a new investment round and had a couple of new investors come in as well. So
very exciting.
Yeah, we are. It's enjoying it.
Talk to us about Innovate UK Women in Innovation Award winner.
So we were, as part of Total Control Pro 2 years ago, we were given a plinth inside the Industry 4 show to show our brand new product. While myself and actually my daughter were on this plinth demonstrating our product, a lady comes running over to us and says, I'm coming to talk to you because you are 2 of the only women I've seen in this whole show.
I bet.
Because there weren't that many of us.
Yeah.
And turned out she was Pauline Dawes, who's actually from, I can't count it in the Midlands, from Grimsby, and she developed a new trailer to improve delivery logistics, and just essentially put more pallets on the back of a truck. So it's a huge, great innovation. And she was one of Innovate UK 2016 award winners, and I'd never heard of this. So I got to know Pauline quite well. She shared with me what they'd done, and I actually went, well, I'd like to look at that. I'd like to look at that award. If it comes up again, I'm going to have a look for it. They didn't do it again for the next 2 years, and at this time, we were involved with the Knowledge Transfer Network and Innovate UK a little bit, sort of with our product. And I saw the award come up, and I was like, okay, I've seen the opportunity that Pauline got through it. I've seen the platform that she had, and that very thing, two other women in Industry 4. And I thought, this kind of brings everything I love together. We went to a couple of road shows. I think that was in the end, one of the key issues of the Women in Innovation Award is they want more women to apply for funding and awards because women naturally don't think they're as good enough to put things through. It's one of those, biases that comes in. Yeah. So they want to have more women go for just trying all of the awards, non-differentiated. So they ran a load of road shows, and I think in the end there were about 3,000 applicants for the awards.
Great.
We essentially had to put together a separate project, so it's independent of our business, but it's inside of our business, and demonstrate that we had complete freedom to operate. So as they give us the advice and the money, they give us £50,000, which is very nice. We get to spend it how we want inside of that project. And so my project is about collaboration. I started to see with all of our customers, wouldn't it be great if we could start to create a way that they could benchmark their performance against each other?
Yeah.
And start to use some standard KPIs. Inside, and really the advantage of the cloud is you can have all of this data, but when you're a small business, you just have your blinkers on and you see what you're doing. And in the finance world, benchmarking is something that's come through more and more, but in manufacturing, it's just not there.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start to create this collaborative platform where we can share that data, start to provide, a normalized benchmarking that says this is the kind of output per hour your kind of business with your kind of workforce should be able to be looking at.
Yeah.
What kind of things can you put in play? So that's what we're developing inside of the project. I get to work with 8 other amazing women in all sorts of areas. I mean, one lady is developing mobility issues for so healthy aging. It's part of the industry strategy.
Good to know. Yeah.
Another sort of plastic coating to enable improvements to biodegradable cups and coffee cups and things like that. Just a whole
good stuff.
Breadth of stuff.
Yeah.
And you get to work with young women with innovation, other women like myself, where it's a new, we're still being innovative years down the line. But it's a great group of women and a really good sort of combination of support as well. So.
And you got to meet the Prime Minister.
I did. So they announced the award in line with International Women's Day.
Sure.
They just said to us, right, you're going to come to number 10. We had no idea. At this point, the announcement had been the day before. We didn't know each other. Each of us showed up at number 10, and there were 100 other women there who've done sort of different things inside of industry. And also it was the launch of the Alison Rose report, which is, around bias in finance and funding for businesses. So they were all there. What was really great is you get 100 women in a room. It doesn't matter where you are. Really. Literally, within about 20 minutes, we'd all found each other. Because someone would go, oh, I've heard you're in the Innovate. Oh, we've got that lady. She's over there. And by that time, we just all
together.
connected. But then also, we just, at one point, had to stop and go, I'm in number 10. Actually, look around. Look where we are. We were making comments that, the room around us, there were a lot of men on the pictures and things. So, how we can shift the visual or the vision of women in business as well. But yeah, it was, and the Prime Minister did come. She was there do you know how they organise? I mean, look, I know there's a lot of controversy over Theresa May right now. The fact is, no one wants that job.
No one. But poison chalice.
That job. She was running a committee agreement meeting around the FMG legislation that was coming through. She was in that room, and she had another meeting that was in the room kind of through the 3 rooms we were in, and as she was walking from one meeting to the next with us as the reception in between, and she took sort of half an hour to speak to each of us, and especially us, the award winners, and take that time. But you just got, she just moves from one thing to the next and has to keep all of that in her head.
And keep smiling.
Yes.
And dancing.
Yes. Yes. She didn't dance.
How important do you think this award and going to number 10 is for inspiring the next generation of female engineers and ladies in technology and STEM full stop?
I think it's that we can talk about it, but while what we're surrounded by is mostly male role models or male acknowledgement, it does stop young women from raising their own voice. So the more we can change that dialogue, for me, it's not about women or men or girls or boys. It's about everyone getting their ideas through to fruition. But to do that, you've got to have the confidence behind your voice and have the confidence to say, I've got an idea and I don't know where it's going to go, without being shouted down. So with this award, I mean, one of the things they did is they launched the Purple Plaque campaign. So there are 14% of the blue plaques in London are about women. The rest are all about male inventors, etc. And they want to change that, or they want to start to have role models that are alive and kicking right now, that can be spoken to and actually understand what's going on. So each of us of Innovate winners, we have a purple plaque that's now been put up in our school.
Nice.
So I got the chance to go and to deliver that. It's on the library. It's on. I couldn't believe it. It's like this headmaster thing.
What's the school?
There's Oakham School, which is in Rutland.
Okay.
And they've got a new library. And underneath the library sign is my plaque. It's hilarious. And it's purple, which is my favourite colour, which is perfect.
Great.
Not that should matter, but, you know. But when I was there, I met a young girl who's 18 years old. She'd just won their Teen Tech Award for developing and she'd done some research into women in technology. Now, hers was all theory. And then she got to come and meet me and say, all right, this is how we're actually delivering it. So already that connection happened. She started to go, yes, I want to be in technology, but this is currently, 100 women who get a technology degree. Of every 100 women that get a technology degree, 2 are still in that area of industry 10 years later.
That's mad. That's why is that? That's opportunities aren't there.
There's opportunities out there. It's hard. It's more difficult in the technology world, or in the academic kind of technology world. If you take time out, you're supposed to stay current all the time. If you're bringing up children, it's difficult. Even myself, I took 12 years to focus on bringing up my children while staying, doing various other things. But I had to, when I came back into Total Control Pro, to really sort of take on that strategy and marketing role, there was confidence issues. Now, there are like, am I good enough? Can I do this now? Am I current enough to what's going on? And there isn't necessarily that support back into the workplace. And I think it's a huge lost resource. So we want to encourage more young people but we also want to ensure that there's the support structure to ensure that that brains and that ability is maintained ongoingly in different areas. So that's why I think it's really important.
You definitely need to get involved in the Silverstone Park sort of schools project, which they've been running alongside or with an organisation called Gaia Innovation, who Silverstone Park have basically sort of employed to come in and help run it, where you would go out and be a role model to young ladies at local schools and technology colleges. And so I 100% think you should get involved in that. So incredibly important topic, which I know both male and female people that we've interviewed so far on the podcast would all agree with and support. So awesome. Talk to me about Industry 4.0 and the role of AI in the future. How do you see that panning out, and how do you see Total Control Pro interacting with that?
It's funny, I think there will be people listening to this podcast who'll go, oh God, that Industry 4 thing. It's like, it's been around a few years now. It's at times worse than the B word. But ultimately, for me, the promise of Industry 4 is the opportunity to utilise resources in a more effective and efficient way when we know there is resource deficiencies, so that we can produce things better, more effectively, and have a better quality of life for others. So yes, there's automation where there's repetitive jobs. I mean, we work with a large OEM car manufacturer, and there's massive amounts of automation, but still some of the manual jobs there, where they are every 30 seconds do it repeating for 8 hours a day. It's tough work. And if we can create ways where the same skilled workforce is maintained, but the work they're doing is more interesting, more effective, then that's some of the areas that Industry 4 can make a difference. So it's connecting machines, people, product, resources. But in order to do that, we need to have better baseline data. And we need to connect with the long tail of small manufacturers that right now are being left behind. I mean, there's a phrase that a rising tide raises all ships, but it's not. If you're a small manufacturer, many of them feel right now that they're tethered to the ground, and there's this, this ideal that is there, that everything is understood and they can see everything, it's all visualized, and what's reality is not happening. And we need to connect those two up. Otherwise, we're going to lose a vital resource, which is our small manufacturers. And it's in the small manufacturers that you get innovation. The engineer who suddenly goes, well, I'm always having to do that and that for that machine to do that. Well, what if we did it this way? Then if we can harness that, then we can start to really, make a difference. And who knows what could come through? I have no idea, but all sorts come through. One of the things that being involved in the STC is we hear a lot about the battery power and electrification cars and that side of things. Well, in Industry 4, it's been about how can you communicate with different technologies? How can you have them talking to each other? And what happened initially is they weren't talking. They're going, no, this is the bit I do. I don't want to talk to you. Otherwise, you're going to interfere with what I do. It's a bit like the battery talking to the grid right now. So I look after the battery. I know it can exist. But if it has to talk to the grid, oops, So, there will be Industry 4 application there at some point. But where AI can come in is to start making those decisions on the ground at the spot that it's supposed to happen. So if we have a limited resource, again, let's talk batteries, lithium, the resource for that, we need more and more of it, and there's less and less of it available. So if you're layering that, whatever you're doing, I'm not technology, if there's electric coating going on or whatever's going on, and you can identify at that point where the error is before it becomes a catastrophic error, that's then a default item and a resource wastage. If you can start to identify that, shift it, apply the AI that says, no, that happens regularly. In these conditions, that happens. These conditions are coming up. Let's avoid that happening and start to have that system come in place. Then our resources start to get used more effectively. And then I think, it's just good economics amongst anything else. But it also means that we aren't depleting every resource that we have available, and we're not just sort of we're leaving something slightly better for those to come, which, there's no point in me being on a platform to improve things for our young people if we're also on the other side just destroy the planet. Havoc. So, and any decision that can be made quicker, more effectively, not by a human with emotional issues.
Indeed.
A shop floor manager who had a bad day. Oh, actually, the shop floor I was in today was on a very good day because he was also a Liverpool supporter.
Right, there we are. Well, for our dear listeners, so we're recording this podcast on the 8th of May. Yesterday was the 7th of May, where Liverpool basically absolutely whooped Barcelona's butt 4-0. One of the best European nights ever. And Dolores is a Liverpool fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, I think the whole country, bar United, Everton, perhaps City fans at the moment, are Liverpool fans. And so by the time this episode goes live, which will be maybe June time, Liverpool will either be
European champions
and Premier League champions, or just Champions League, or none.
No, they'll be Champions League
against either Ajax or Tottenham, and I'm thinking, because the game's tonight, I think it's going to be Ajax, and I hope it is Ajax, just because I think it'll be a better game of football.
yeah, I think you're right.
But if it is Tottenham, we'd have a pretty good record against them.
An all-UK final would be fun, wouldn't it?
It would be fun, I've got a few Spurs fans as friends, so I'm thinking Ajax. But anyway, who knows?
You do know that Liverpool will be the home team in Madrid, though, because the Madrids will be very excited that we beat Barcelona.
Yeah, indeed. I think the whole world should be, really, to be honest. What a performance. Anyway, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, 20 years old.
Don't you love him?
20 years old. And Origi was out on loan to Wolfsburg, other teams for 2 seasons, and he's come back and he's nailing some absolutely vital goals.
Good resource management.
Good resource management. There we go. It's a business lesson there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Training and
kept him fresh and kept him focused.
Yeah.
All about leadership. I'm going to be writing a blog about Liverpool as well imminently. I started typing out last night when I was all emotional. So anyway, we digress. Right. I think we've covered off a lot, Dolores, about business, work, Your genesis. So you're a bit of a computer geek when you were growing up. I am still a gaming and computer geek. And so that's my genesis into sort of technology. So you're talking about
The ZX Spectrum.
ZX Spectrums,
Yeah.
Atari STs and things like that I had. So
Early games, consoles.
So this is your genesis when you were younger. You were always fascinated by computers
Yeah.
and DOS and programming or gaming. Or
University, my big thing was Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, standard. yeah. Okay.
And finding the back doors and the loopholes
Yeah,
and the
I love
and the
that.
push twist connect
The
that had
cheats.
them go.
Yeah.
All of those.
And are your children into gaming?
Bizarrely enough, not that much.
Okay.
No.
How old are they now?
Actually grown up. So my son is 26, my daughter is 20, and
Okay.
she's one of the people I want to inspire. She's
Sure.
actually studying innovation back at Bristol,
Okay.
so she's following in those footsteps. But yeah, that she's almost low tech. Bizarrely enough, because there's technology around her the whole time, so
Sure.
she's almost the other way. Very into health and fitness, but also very committed to making a difference.
Well, technology today is just a given for any child growing
Yeah,
up. But
it's automated.
but years, decades ago, respectfully for both of us, it was like, wow, what is this? I remember when my brother came home from university with a PlayStation we should use part of his student loan on, and I was playing on my Master System still, or equivalent, or Mega Drive.
Yes.
And I was like, my God, what is this PlayStation? And then prior to that, as it is, Ataris and ZXs and
Yeah, I know, and it's that. I think I had originally the ZX could program a little robot. And you could give it certain instructions like forward, left, right, and send it around the room. That used to be the extent of my ability. But always for me, it's like, what can this technology do, and can I do enough? I was never, getting really under the bonnet to go, why is it doing this, or how? As long as it delivered what I wanted it to do. But also, that opportunity, what else could it do? What can it do next? Where can we take this? Which is,
And today, possibilities are endless, right? We're sat in the hub of it, Silverstone Park, Silverstone Technology Cluster, surrounded by hundreds of businesses and business owners and entrepreneurs and engineers creating and shaping the future as our Total Control Pro, which is very exciting. So before I get on to the very last two questions, which I ask everybody, is there anything that I haven't asked you that we should sort of cover off whilst I've got you on air?
No, I think you've probably covered most things. I think I'm
fine.
That's great.
Embarrassing mistakes. Hit me with an embarrassing mistake that Dolores is prepared to share with our community. Business, personal, something funny, involving alcohol, family, business, life, whatever it is. What can you share with us?
Well, I did think of the Liverpool one, which is the first one, which is never listened to a key game while sitting in the car. I have broken my hand cheering and thumping the
Have
top
you really?
of my car.
Oh my God, I could totally believe that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I suppose one of the most embarrassing things for me is actually, shows me that I should be in the product business, because I was working as a waitress in Australia. I did some travelling when I was 18, and I was doing a breakfast conference, and it was actually the government of New South Wales, and there was a very important person who was about to get up and give a speech, and he asked for some orange juice, so I stepped in to pour him the orange juice. He moved the chair because he was getting ready for his speech, and the chair leg onto my foot. At which point, he was quite hefty.
Yeah.
It was painful. I shrieked in front of everyone, poured the orange juice all the way down him as he was about to stand up on the podium and give a speech. And just stood there with everyone looking at me going, maybe waitressing's not for me at the time. I better go to uni and do a difference. And actually, you know what? I could have stayed in Australia. I loved it so much. I was at the stage of thinking, maybe I'll just stay here. I won't go back to university. I'm very glad I did that. Otherwise, I never would have. Who knows where I would have been?
Yeah, and we are glad that you're here as well. So we can all benefit from Total Control Pro and everything else that you guys are doing. So, okay, very last question. What bit of life advice, business advice would you give a younger version of yourself? So take yourself back to that very moment you've just explained.
Yeah.
Pouring orange juice on somebody in Australia, foreign country. What bit of advice would you give yourself back then?
In that sense, it's actually make mistakes, fail fast, and don't make them mean anything about you. The more mistakes you can make, the more failures you can have, the more successes you can have. And actually, at one point, I had a business that failed, and I allowed it to knock my confidence and actually stop me for a while. And I would tell my younger self, just keep going, keep failing, get up, do something else. And from that, you'll just learn so much quicker and deliver so much more.
And potentially win Innovate UK's Women in Innovation Award.
Absolutely.
Dolores, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for telling us the story behind Total Control Pro. In the show notes, there'll be some links connecting our wonderful listeners to your company website and anything else that you'd like to share with them so they can easily find you and look into your sort of Activate, Energise and Enterprise products. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Cheers.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.